Hello to the pessimistic, optimistic, and everyone in between. My name is Connor Philippi, and welcome back to the Minnesotan Sports Podcast. And a day from when you'll be watching this, it'll be exactly 2 weeks from the start of the season. And please keep in mind, on that day, I will be doing a live stream. It'll be the very first YouTube live stream on the history of this channel. So it's going to be on YouTube, September 7th, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And look at the link in the description for the video of me explaining the whole thing more in depth. But it's going to be a chill stream where I break down the game and we just hang out and I ask or answer any questions you ask in this chat and everything. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you join in for that. But back to what we'll be talking about today, which is me ranking what I think will be the top 10 offenses throughout this season. And next to these teams, I have where they were ranked last year in terms of points per game. I understand that's not an exact science because some of these teams just have really bad defenses within their division, and some teams have really good offenses within their division. So it's not an exact science, but just kind of giving you an idea of where they were and how many points they scored last season. We're going to start at number 10 with kind of a shocker, and it's the Giants. They were ranked 16th last season in terms of points per game at 21.5 points per game. Now, keep in mind, though, this is one of those teams what I was talking about where they just have some crazy defenses within their division. The Cowboys, Giants, and Commanders defenses all within that division. So it kind of inflates that or deflates that, whatever the phrase is. But the Giants last year were kind of showing those flashes of being a better offense. Daniel Jones was finally starting to showcase his ability to run the football. And now this offseason, they made a big addition in Darren Waller. I think having that extra option when he's in trouble, throwing to that guy who's been such a reliable tight end for the Raiders in the previous years, I think having that extra option is going to vault this offense up to that next level, and they're going to just barely make it into the top 10 list. At number 9, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now they bump up one for me from last year where they were ranked 10th in points per game, 23.8 last season. And Trevor Lawrence, I think, will take another step. I don't think it'll be quite as dramatic of a step up as some of these other quarterbacks have had in their sophomore season, third season of their career. But I do think that it'll be a leap for sure. I think Calvin Ridley is a slept-on guy right now. I mean, people forgot just how good he was with the Falcons before the whole betting thing happened, and I'm hoping he doesn't do it again because you would think he's learned his lesson from being suspended a whole season. But this Jags offense, I think, is going to get better this season, and if it weren't for just how many good offenses there are in the NFL right now, they would be higher, but just the way it goes. Number 8, we have the 49ers. I have them slightly going down this season, and they were 6th last season, 26.5 points per game. And I think, I don't know, every single year, I've said this in all the videos where I've talked about the 49ers, every year they come in there with a quarterback and you think, oh, I don't know. They came in with Garoppolo a couple years ago and they're like, I don't know, how far can he carry this team? Shanahan has been able to get through all of it with this offense. And I feel like this, with Shanahan in there, it's always going to be a good offense. That being said, there's just some teams that I see their offense shooting up the rankings this year, which is why it's not as much the 49ers being worse on the offensive side. I just think there's some teams that are just going to keep on getting better, and I feel like they're going to plateau. Even though that plateau is a really good plateau, I just don't see them being better than last year. Number 7, we have the Chargers. I know I'm high on the Chargers this year. People don't agree with that. A lot of people are thinking the Chargers aren't even going to make the playoffs this year. But I have Justin Herbert making a huge leap this season from a borderline elite quarterback to being one of the league's best. I think he's going to finish in top 5 in MVP voting this year. Hopefully his wide receivers can stay healthy, and if he does, I think there's going to be a fire in this team this year. I saw the way that game ended against the Jags in the wild card round. I saw the way they reacted on the field. They were players crying on the field. They're going to come back this season, and I just have a great feeling. There's really no other way I can explain it. I just have a great feeling about the Chargers, and I think a good part of that is going to be their offense. And I just put them in my last video of teams with the most pressure on them going into the season. Make sure you watch that video if you haven't watched it, but they're on that video as well as a team with a lot of pressure on them. I think they're going to take that pressure, and I think they're going to run with it, and I see them being a good team this year, and their offense will be 7th best in my book. Even though they were 13th last year, 23 points per game, they're going to take that leap. Next, we have the Lions at number 6. Last year, they were 5th in the league with 26.6 points per game. So even though I have them going a step down, again, I think there's a couple teams that just are climbing the ranks, and that's the only reason. These top 6 are all insane offenses, but I think the Lions are going to continue to play really well with Jared Goff. Made some switch some things around on the offensive side, but I still think that Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to lead the way for this offense. And Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, is going to have a good rookie season. And Dan Campbell has seemed to work out a way where this offense gets the job done. Jared Goff is a slept-on quarterback, and I think that it will come down to whether or not last year was more of a first half or second half kind of year. But at the end of the day, the defense was really the problem for them all year last year. So this offense is going to be good, and their defensive play is going to dictate how good this Lions team ends up being. Number 5, I have the Bills. They were 2nd last year with 28.4 points per game. I feel like this team is going to, at least on the offensive side, take a slight step back. This is a team that is competing for a championship. This is a team that has a lot of high expectations, and you can't really get better than how well they played last year. I don't know. I have a feeling. It's one of those things where in the NFL, it's like a plateau, and the Bills kind of plateaued offensively last season, and you're either going to go back up or down. It's just a feeling for me where I feel like there's some frustration between players in this offense. There is such high expectations when you're constantly comparing yourself to the Chiefs, and I think, by no means am I saying they're going to suck next year, but don't get me wrong. This is a list of some crazy good offenses. It's just, I think that there's a couple teams that are going to beat them out this season. Next up at 4, and people are going to call me biased, but I have the Vikings at number 4. Yeah, I know it's above the Bills, above the Lions, but they were 8th last year, 24.9 points per game, and I feel like Kirk Cousins found his groove last season. I think he's going to continue and keep it going. I think that the way that the Vikings season ended last season is going to ignite a spark in this team. And the whole idea that the Vikings last season was dictated by their defensive play, I think the Vikings are going to be able to play a lot looser this season because Flores' calling is going to make this defense better. And I think that Kirk Cousins is going to just build up more and more swag. It's crazy to put swag and Kirk Cousins in the same sentence, but I think he's going to get smoother. I think that this offensive line can't possibly get worse, and so I think he is going to only improve. You got Justin Jefferson, who's the best wide receiver in the league. You have TJ Hawkinson, who I think their average points per game would have been slightly higher last season if he had been playing for them all season long. Then you add on Jordan Addison, and then you have KJ Osborne. When Addison and Osborne are going to be your potential 2 and 3 wide receivers, that's dangerous. And then you add on Josh Oliver, who I think is going to be an incredibly underrated signing for this Vikings team, where he's going to be a good decoy. He's an incredible pass blocker, but then also imagine a situation where you've got both Hawkinson and Oliver on the field, and then you've got a couple wide receivers on the sides, and it's like a 3rd down on the goal line. You got to watch out for Josh Oliver blocking, but then you got to take into account that Hawkinson's a big red zone threat. Jefferson can make pretty much any catch. Addison is going to be a good wide receiver this year as well. And then you throw in the fact that Josh Oliver can also play some serious football and catch the ball well. He could slip in and he could just be wide open by himself. So I think this Vikings offense is going to be even better this season, and I think that they're going to vault ahead of a few of these teams, and they're not going to be top 3 because these 3 teams are the best of the best. But don't get me wrong, I'm trying to be realistic about this Vikings team, but they just make me so excited. Number 3, we have the Bengals, and I was actually surprised because they have the 7th best offense last season at 26.1. I didn't know they were that low, but the Bengals were 7th last year. They're going to rise all the way up to 3. I think they're just going to continue to get better as long as Joe Burrow plays all season long. And it does look like he'll do that. I think he's already starting to throw, and he doesn't really need preseason, so I think that they're going to be good to go. Jamar Chase is only going to get better. It's possible that he and Justin Jefferson switch off as best wide receiver in the league this year. And not to hate against my guy Justin Jefferson, but Chase could be the best wide receiver in the league after this year. He's only going to get better. His run after catch is insane. You throw on the other guys that the Bengals have, as long as the offensive line can block for Joe and Joe doesn't have to continue to get beat up like he has been the last couple years, this Bengals team is going to be incredibly good on the offensive side of the football. Next, we have the Eagles at number 2, and they were 3rd last year, 28.1 points per game. It's just unfair. You've got Jalen Hurts, who is a rising star in the league. If he plays again like that this year, I'm going to have to put him much higher on my top QBs list next season. He's an incredibly good passer. He's great at improv, and he's got a great offensive line behind him, and he's got 2 of the best wide receivers in the game right now. Devontae Smith had a breakout season last year, and then A.J. Brown is just a beast. He's like I don't want to say a Walmart Megatron. I don't know who that disrespects more because Megatron was just next level. A.J. Brown just goes up and makes every catch, and it's just insane. You add that on to just an incredibly good offensive scheme in general, this Eagles team is so scary, and the only team that can beat them is number 1, the Chiefs. I feel like I don't have to say much about the Chiefs because last year they were first. This year they're going to be first. The next 5 years, as long as Patrick Mahomes is in the game, they are going to be first. I get that there's questions, just like there always is every year. Besides Kelsey, which the Mahomes to Kelsey combination is unreal, can these young guys that are, as wide receivers continue to get filtered out of Kansas City, can these young guys come in and continue to play well with him and make a name for themselves? And Patrick Mahomes is a lot like Tom Brady, where I feel like he can take guys and make them become known. And, Tom Brady would take any wide receiver and he'd make them good. And I feel like Mahomes also has that ability. He's the most talented quarterback the league has ever seen, and he can do anything. And this offensive line did get worse, and that's going to be a little bit of a concern. But the Chiefs falling to any more than or any worse than 3rd on this list would be just insane, and it would most likely mean Mahomes got hurt. So a few teams here that aren't quite in the top 10 in my book that I feel like people are going to be mad at me for. I ought to at least explain myself for these. So the Jets are one of them. Aaron Rodgers obviously makes this team so much better. I'm not one of those Vikings fans that just says that Rodgers sucks just because I'm a Vikings fan. He's a great quarterback, and he's going to make this team a lot better. You've got Garrett Wilson, one of the better young wide receivers in this league. They're going to be good, but will they be in the top 10? I need to see something from them first. I can't just watch them on Hard Knocks and be like, oh, that was a good pass by Rodgers. I know he can pass well. Why didn't the Packers make the top 10 offenses list last year with him in it? I just don't know. I have to see more. Cowboys, this is a team, I got a feeling about them this year where something's going to give. They're either going to make the playoffs and win a couple games in the playoffs with McCarthy calling plays, or they're going to completely fall apart. And I'm betting on them falling apart slightly. Part of me is probably because I want to see it, but I just have a weird feeling about the Cowboys this year where I feel like they might fall apart. The Seahawks are another team where I need to see a second good season out of them because Geno Smith obviously made this team really good last season, but they kind of trailed off near the end of the season, and also Geno did just have the 1 year. So I need to see one more year from him. He's one of those guys where he came in after struggling his entire career, played one really good year, and then he gets this nice extension by the team. I just don't know if I agree with it yet. So I got to see one more year from them. And then finally, the Ravens. This is a team that could easily be in the top 10 by the end of the year, but I just haven't seen enough the last couple of years because Lamar's been hurt. And so I don't know if I can say that the Ravens are definitively going to be a top 10 team when A, I don't know if Lamar is going to be able to stay healthy, and B, I don't know how good this team can be with him healthy because we just haven't seen it. So those are the 4 teams that I think I was really struggling with, but that I had to take off. Let me know in the comments what you think of these. I always like talking with people in the comments about why I made certain decisions and what you guys think you would change about this list. So please let me know. Also, please like and subscribe. I'm looking to build my community and build my base of people watching my videos. So thank you so much for the support you give me. And I'm really excited to start off this NFL season. There's going to be a lot of content coming in the coming weeks. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Thank you guys again so much, and I will see you on the flip side.